Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing my full review and testing of the Autel MaxiCharger Lite. It's a 50 amp electric vehicle charger. So I'll be deep freezing the unit, baking it in a heat lamp, dropping it, and testing out all of its features. But first, let's open the box and see what comes inside. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. We have the body of the unit, and this is in what Autel calls Sierra Blue. You can get this unit in silver, dark gray, Sierra Blue, and for the holidays, they have a white color, and they call it Driven Snow. I only think it's going to be available for a month or two. I don't think that's going to be a permanent color. I think it's just available now for the holidays, but if you want a white one, you can get that. It has the integrated connector holster. The connector snaps into here. And I mentioned that because Autel also sells versions of their chargers with remote connector holsters where there is no integrated connector holster in the front. I'm going to go over some of the other charger options that Autel has later in the video because they actually have quite a few options that you can get. But this is what they call the AC, because it's an AC electric charger, a MaxiCharger Lite. It doesn't have it's actually a faux display screen on the front for the residential chargers. When you get the commercial version, it actually works and it's a touchscreen. But the MaxiCharger Lite has a faux display screen here. It also has a couple more options, which, as I said, we'll get into a little bit later. So this is the MaxiCharger Lite. It's a 50 amp unit, so it doesn't have a NEMA 1450 plug on here. You have to hardwire this unit. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a plug on it, but they also sell this in a 40 amp version with a NEMA 1450 plug. So if you plan on putting a plug on it, just get the 40 amp version with the plug already installed. It actually costs less and you're better off. Now I am going to be installing a NEMA 1450 plug on this because when I do the reviews here, I don't hardwire all the chargers. It would just be too much hardwiring them and taking them off. So I typically get the units in the NEMA 1450 configuration. Autel sent me this one without the 1450 plug, so I'm going to put it on just for this review. It has a nice 25-foot long cord, nice connector. I like their connector. This is the mounting bracket. This gets mounted on the wall like this. There's two screws that you mount, and then on the back of the unit, there's these two screws that stick out here, and the unit slides into the mounting bracket like that. And then on the bottom, there's a screw down here that you screw in. They provide the screw in this little bag here. It's a little black screw. And they give you the Torx wrench. It's a Torx screw. They give you the Torx wrench in this bag here. They also give you another smaller Torx wrench. I think the larger one that attaches the screw to here is a Torx 25, a T25, and the other one is a smaller one. I think it's a T10. And that smaller torque wrench is to open up the front case, which we're going to do later and take a look inside. In this bag, there's also two long screws. Those are for the mounting plate, so you can mount it on the wall. There's another bag over here. You have two drywall anchors in here for those screws. If you're going to mount this on drywall, please try to find a stud. It's much better if you can get this thing into something that has bite. You really don't want to have your charging equipment hanging on the wall with drywall anchors. They're heavy units. The cables are heavy. You might be yanking it. Try to get yourself onto a stud. And there's also a plug here. This is a plastic plug. And that's for where you would hardwire it. You can also enter through the back of the unit. You might be able to see it here. Right here, there's a plug here. So you could hardwire this either through the back of the unit or from down below. If you hardwire it from the back, which is a nice cleaner installation, it looks nicer on the wall without having any conduit or anything, then you remove this screw down here and you add this plug here so it's nice and sealed. You don't want this just open, even though it's on the bottom. You don't want any contaminants, bugs getting in there or anything. So that's what this plug is for. If you don't hardwire it through the bottom, you'll take this off and you'll plug it up with this plug that's provided. They also provide you with a packing list. This is a quick reference guide and installation guide. And also they have amperage labels for your service panel. And you'll notice there's all different labels: 20 amp, 30 amp, 40 amp, 50 amp, 60 amp, 70 amp. And that's because you can adjust the power inside the unit and also in the app. So if you don't have a circuit that can provide the full 50 amps, if you do have this on a 50, if you want it to deliver 50 amps, well, there's really not very many electric vehicles that can accept 50 amps. Usually it's 48 amps, and then there's a few out there that can accept 80 amps, like my F-150 Lightning. But even though this can deliver 50 amps, I think most people are going to put it on a 60 amp circuit and set it to deliver 48 amps, because that extra 2 amps really isn't going to make much of a difference. And most electric vehicles are limited to 48 amps anyway. So, okay, that's what comes in the box. What I'm going to do now is mount this on the wall. We'll take a look at it on the wall, and then I'll open up the box. We'll take a look inside, and I'll show you where you land your wires when you're going to hardwire it, or in my case, where I'm going to put the wires for the NEMA 1450 plug. All right, so I have the mounting bracket up here on the wall. You might notice that it's the opposite than I showed you when I did the unboxing. I actually put it up on the wall upside down briefly. This is the way it goes on the wall, and the MaxiCharger just slides in and locks into place, which we're gonna do in a minute. But first, let's go over the MaxiCharger 50 amp Lite's key features. Okay, the Autel MaxiCharger Lite 50 amp unit retails for $569, although you can frequently get it on discount. So check Amazon and also Autel's website. They do run specials from time to time. The dimensions are 13.23 inches wide by 7.36 inches high by 3.35 inches deep. It's a 50 amp unit which can deliver up to 12 kilowatts to the vehicle. It has a 25-foot long cable. It comes with the J1772 connector. They don't have it available in the NACS connector just yet, but I assume that's going to be available pretty soon. All the companies are switching over to that, and they're going to offer both. It has a NEMA 4 enclosure. The operating temperature is 131 degrees Fahrenheit to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 55 Celsius to negative 40 Celsius. It is a Wi-Fi connected smart charger with an app. It's CSA certified, Energy Star rated, has a 3-year warranty, and the unit is made in Vietnam. Okay, so as I said, we have the mounting bracket attached to the wall. What you want to do next is get your unit, and there, you can notice there's 2 screws sticking out of the back of the box. Those are going to fit into these 2 holes, and then it slides down and locks into place kind of. Now underneath, there's a little tab on the mounting bracket that sticks out, and there's a hole in it. With that, you use the small black screw that was provided, I mentioned earlier when we took a look at what was in the box, and the larger hex driver. Actually, this isn't like a Torx. It's one of those safety screws and drivers that has the little dimple inside the screw, so somebody can't just roll up and take this off. If it's mounted in a public area, they need to have one of the safety drivers to do that, which is what Autel gives you with this. You won't be able to use just like a regular Allen key to use this. You have to use what they provided if you don't have a set of safety drivers. And this one last screw here goes underneath. Let me put that in so it's attached here. Screw that on. Okay, so that's attached. So now the unit's on the wall. Let's open it up and take a look what's inside. Now I already loosened the screws that are inside. There's 2 screws on the bottom of the case here, and once you remove those 2 screws, this front plastic piece snaps off. And then underneath, what you have is the cover for the unit, which came off because I already unscrewed it. And you could do 2 things here. You could either remove these 11 screws around the perimeter and take the whole front of the unit off, or there's 5 screws here that you remove and you can open up this access panel. That would probably be enough to do the wiring, but I removed the 11 screws so we can open up the unit entirely and really take a look inside. So let's do that now. Now, as with most units or all units that have some sort of a display screen, there is a wire set here that you have to clip off. Okay, so I removed that, sit this down, and here's what it looks like inside the box. Here's your wires for the cable, and over on this side here is where you would do your hard wiring. This is a unit that's made for hard wiring, but as I mentioned, I'm going to be attaching a NEMA 1450 plug to this and using it as a 40 amp unit, only because it just is too cumbersome for me to keep hard wiring units every time I get them for reviews. I do a lot of reviews here. So here's where I'm going to be landing those wires, and here's where you would be landing the wires if you were doing a hard wire. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can either come in through the bottom here, or there's a knockout here. I would much prefer doing that if I was installing this like I have with my Tesla wall connector here, the universal wall connector. Both of those, I have the feed coming in through the back of it. Just a cleaner installation. You don't have conduit sticking out, something that could get, you know, banged or damaged. I mean, it shouldn't happen. You should be okay with it, but I just think it looks better. In any event, so I'm going to land my wires here. Now, there's a couple things to note. On this side over here on the corner, there's a dip switch. And that dip switch is to lower the output of the charger. Now, you could also do it inside the Autel app. I really like when these units give you the option to do it both ways, and I'll explain why. If it's in the app and you dial down the output, let's say it's on a circuit that can't support the full amount that the charger can provide, there could be a problem with the app or something. You know, you might reinstall the latest version and it might reset the amperage, or you might even go in there by mistake, or somebody fiddling with it raises the amperage, and now all of a sudden the charger's putting out more than it should be or could be on that circuit, and you could have a problem. But when they have these internal dip switches, you set the dip switch to the maximum that circuit can handle. So since I'm going to be putting this on a 50 amp circuit with a NEMA 1450 plug, I'm going to set this to have a maximum output of 40 amps. Now, once I get the Autel app, no matter what I do, this unit will not put out more than 40 amps. I can't overdraw the circuit. I can lower it and go down lower, but I can't overdraw the circuit. So that's one of the things I really like. And it's I have a line item in the ChargerRater where I give an extra point for the chargers that allow you to set it both inside the unit as a hard limit and then manipulate the output amperage in an app. I really like that. Good on Autel for doing that. So I'm going to lower this down so I don't overdraw the circuit here, and connect my plug to right here. Very simple, not a lot going on in here. I like that. The case is a nice, solid, sturdy case, and I like the fact that there's so many screws around here. It really pulls it in, the cover in nice and tight, and keeps water from coming in. It's an NEMA 4 rated unit, which is highly rated. It's good for any outdoor installation, even in extreme weather. Blowing rain and snow won't intrude into the unit. So when these units are NEMA 4 rated, that's pretty much the highest rating that you're going to get on a wall-mounted unit. Some of the smaller portable units can have a little bit of a higher rating, but these wall-mounted units, NEMA 4 is pretty much as good as you're going to get. So this is a good unit for outdoor use, provided it holds up well in our heat test and our cable deep freeze test. Now, as far as installing it, as always, I always recommend getting a licensed professional, somebody that's experienced with electric vehicle charging equipment. Autel's actually partnered with my channel sponsor, Qmerit, and Qmerit is the recommended installer for Autel chargers. It seems simple, 3 wires, hook it up, do it yourself. Please don't do that. You know, you got a really nice electric car, you bought a really good charger here, this seems like a nice solid unit, spend a few extra bucks, pull a permit, do it right, have it inspected, and you'll have many years of safe charging. You won't have to worry about having an issue. And you know, people that do it yourself on these do have issues. I have followers that contact me from time to time and say they either hired a guy that really wasn't experienced with, or they did it themselves and they had a problem. So, you know, get a licensed professional. I recommend Qmerit, but quite honestly, any licensed electrical professional that really understands electric vehicle charging equipment, that has experience with it, go with someone like that. Even if you pay a little bit more, you'll sleep better at night. Okay, so that's what she looks like inside. I'm going to put it back together, and then we'll head into the review. Next up, it's time for the extreme heat test. When I reviewed the Autel MaxiCharger last year, I hadn't done the extreme heat test yet. I hadn't introduced it to my reviews, but now we do this, so this is the first time the MaxiCharger has done this. And what we do is I set the unit up with a heat lamp, and I get the surface of the unit to be about 120 degrees for 2 hours. Then I plug the unit in, I leave the heat lamp on it, I plug in one of my EVs, and I like to draw the maximum current that I have it set up to be, which is going to be 40 amps at this time. We'll see for 2 hours if the unit, continuing to be baking in the heat, can deliver the full amount of power, or if it derates, or if it shuts off. Now, the MaxiCharger can deliver up to 50 amps. Ideally, I would have liked to be delivering that, but I explained earlier, I have this unit plugged in, so it's going to be delivering 40 amps. So we're going to see if it can continue to deliver the 40 amps for 2 hours. Now, I've had it here for about 2 hours now, and as you can see, it's 121 degrees. I've been monitoring it. I like to keep the units at right around 120 degrees for 2 hours. That way it heat soaks through the whole unit. Then I plug in my EV, I keep the heat lamp on it, and we see how well it does. So I'm going to pull my Chevy Bolt EV into the garage now, plug this thing in, and we'll see how it fares after 2 hours of charging. All right, well, the Bolt's been charging for 2 hours now. I've been monitoring it. It's been pulling the full amount, about 9 kilowatts that it should be pulling the whole time. So the MaxiCharger hasn't derated, it hasn't shut off, none of that. The heat lamp's been on it the whole time. The charger is pretty hot now, 153 degrees. So it's cooking in there, but it's not derating. It's delivering the power that it promises it should. So it's going to be a pass for the Autel MaxiCharger in our extreme heat test. Next up, it's time for our cold weather testing, including the cable deep freeze test. The interesting thing about the cable deep freeze tests today is that this is the specific reason why I'm reviewing this Autel MaxiCharger. And that's because last year I did the full review of the MaxiCharger, and one of the things that the unit failed on, and it failed on it miserably, was the cold weather cable performance. It was the worst I'd ever tested. It literally was like a frozen garden hose, let's say, that felt like it was filled with water and frozen. And it was so bad that Autel actually reached out to me after the review and said, look, you hit us pretty hard there, but deservedly so. So we're going to source a new cable. Once we have a new cable, we're going to send you a new unit so you could retest it. So this unit here has the new, what is supposed to be updated cable. But what I will say is my initial impressions of it when it was at room temperature was not impressive. It felt stiff. It didn't feel like it was going to do well in this. It felt like the outer jacket was very plasticky, not rubberized like some of the cables that perform well in this test, which surprised me because Autel was very adamant about we have a new cable now, we have to send it to you. I'm sure it's going to do better. So I'm really interested in see how this works out. And as a comparison, I also put in the freezer ChargePoint Home Flex, which is one of the chargers that performs very well. The cable does, at least. It does very well in cold weather testing. So I just wanted to provide a comparison on a cable that does very well. Hopefully the Autel will do very well too now because they have sourced a new, supposedly improved cable for cold weather. So we're going to find out. First off, let's see how cold it is in there. Negative 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty cold in there. And I actually had the ChargePoint Home Flex in here for a full day longer than the Autel because I put it in 2 days ago. I was planning on doing the Autel's cable deep freeze test yesterday, but then other parts of the review took a little bit longer, so I couldn't do it yesterday. So the ChargePoint Home Flex has been in there 48 hours, more than 48 hours, probably like 50, 55 hours at this point. And the Autel's been in there for 24 hours. So it's a more than fair comparison. Let's see how it does. First up, let's do the new MaxiCharger. Let's see how that does. Now we're not going to pay attention to the NEMA 1450 plug that I wired onto it because that's not Autel's cable and they're not responsible for it. But as you can see, that's really bad, but that's got nothing to do with Autel. I always wrap the cables up in these tight loops, and then we see how well they unfold. God, I don't even know if I can get this thing on the wall because of this, the NEMA 1450. I can't, actually. So I'm not going to try at this point. See all the frost? Now you could probably hear this. You hear that cracking? This cable is frozen. And see how it comes out? It's like a spring. You don't want it to do that. You want it to kind of be a little floppy, like it is when in warm weather. See that? That's not good. And you can still hear it cracking. So it's better than the first cable. The first cable was like this NEMA 1450 cable. You see that? Where it just doesn't even want to move. So it's better. But it's still not going to get a passing grade from me because this isn't good. It's not terrible, but it's stiff. You hear it cracking? It's frozen. Autel, you could do better. There are better cables out there on the market that would perform better in cold weather. This is going to lose a point, probably not 2 points. It's not unusable. The last cable was virtually unusable, in my opinion, for cold weather climate. And I told people don't get it if you live in cold weather areas because it was really bad. This is just bad, not really bad. Listen, if you're really interested in improving and getting a better cable, reach out to me, Autel, because I know a lot of them that are really good. In any event, let's see. Well, not yet. First, we're going to do the connector drop test while I have it here. And if you remember, the last time it failed, this tab on the top broke. But I think that was more of a case of just bad luck where it dropped right on the edge. I try not to do that right on the edge because it's almost not fair. But some of these tabs are better protected than the others. And I will note that if your tab does break, Autel will sell you a replacement part, and it's just 1 minute to replace it. So some other companies won't do that. Like ChargePort, for instance, will not sell you a replacement part. If it breaks, you're out of luck. But Autel will send you, and you just remove this one pin, and the new locking tab comes right in. So it's real easy. So that was good for Autel. All right, let me see. Okay. All right, that's fine. The connector passed this time. But again, I said I didn't drop it directly on that edge. Being frozen at negative 15 degrees, if it goes directly on that edge, I think most of the connectors are going to break. But this is a solid, well-made connector. Other than this, I don't really love how the tab on the top is not protected at all, but the connector feels really well in your hand. It's well made. It's a good, strong connector. I actually really do like Autel's connector. It's a good connector. Okay, next up, what I'm going to do is, well, I have to test the unit to make sure it works fine in cold weather. But before I do that, let me pull out the ChargePoint Home Flex because I just want to show you what a really good performing cable looks like in cold weather. Okay, so now you see I coiled it up in those small coils like I did with the Autel's cable. But now watch what happens when I unravel it. Look at this. Look at that. It didn't stay in those tight coils like a spring. Look at this. It's just floppy. And this has been in there for twice as long as the Autel. See this? That's fantastic. No cracking. Look, you don't hear any cracking. And if I wanted to, if I just unplugged my car and it was in the middle of the winter and I wanted to wrap it back up and hang it over the charger, look at this. This, you'll be fighting and it'll be bending and fighting against you. See this? Look at that. It's almost as nice and bendable as this Ford's that's been in warm garage the whole time. So this is, it's still probably the gold standard for cables for electric vehicle chargers, the ChargePoint Home Flex. Their cable's fantastic. If I owned a company that made charging equipment, I'd find out where this cable was sourced and use it. Or the Tesla wall connector cable. That's a pretty good cable also. Okay, so now I'm going to plug in the Autel. I'm not going to be able to get it on the wall. It's going to be hanging. Oh, God. Look at this. Okay, it's lighting up. Okay, let's see. Looks like it's going to work. Now I'm going to pull in my Chevy Bolt EV, plug it in, just to make sure that the unit works after it's being frozen down to -15. Okay. All right, we got the blue light. Now we got a green light. The Bolt just beeped, so it's charging. So the Autel MaxiCharger 50 amp light passed the connector drop test. It passed the cold weather charging test, but it did fail the cable deep freeze test. Autel, you got to do a little bit better than that to satisfy state of charge. It's better than your first cable, but you can do better. And finally, I did the automatic restart test. The automatic restart test tests if the charger will continue to charge an EV after a power outage. So let's say you're plugged in and charging in the middle of the night, you get a power interruption, but then power's restored. You want the unit to immediately start charging the EV again. Now, most units do this, but we have found a few that just enter into like a fault state and don't continue charging the EV. So you wake up in the morning and you're not charged, even though you might have just had like a 1-minute power outage. So what I do is I plug in the EV, I turn off the circuit breaker that powers this outlet here, and wait about a minute, then I turn it back on just to make sure that the charger will re-engage the vehicle and start charging. And with the MaxiCharger, it was no problem. I turned the power off, it shut off, turned it back on, it immediately started charging my EV again, so it passes the automatic restart test. Now, one thing I forgot to mention when I did the cable deep freeze test was the thickness of the cable, because sometimes that has something to do with how well it performs. And we measured the Autel's cable to be 18.6 millimeters, which is kind of average size for EV charger. There are some that are a lot thinner, and there are others that are thicker. The ChargePoint Home Flex is very similarly sized to this, so size isn't everything. It's really how the jacket is made that really makes, and the jacket, by jacket I mean the outer wrapping of the wires. That's really important on how, what type of material this is. Some of the materials are really rubbery as opposed to plasticky, and if you have any experience with like outdoor garden hoses, you'll notice that the rubberized hoses are very more flexible. The plastic ones really are stiff, they're hard to bend. So it's kind of the same with the cables for EV chargers. It seems like the ones that have more rubber content in that outer jacket perform better than the ones that are more plasticky. Okay, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that the MaxiCharger is a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connected smart charger. First, let's go through the process to connect your unit with the Autel app. Since I already have a MaxiCharger, I've already downloaded the app and have it all set up for me. So what I need to do is tap Add on the top right corner so I can add this second unit. Once I did that, the app automatically accesses your camera so you can scan the QR code on the side of the unit. You then need to use the PIN that's included on the quick start instruction guide that I mentioned earlier. After entering the PIN, the app then asks you if you want to enter your exact street address and where you purchased the unit. And if you do that, they extend your warranty an additional 3 months. Now, I didn't do that because I don't need the extended warranty on this review unit. You are then asked to pair the unit with your Wi-Fi. And once that's done, all you need to do is configure any specific charge settings that you may want. In my case, I'm going to make sure the unit is set to deliver a maximum of 40 amps, and I don't need to set a charging schedule for time of use electricity savings like a lot of people do, but if I did, here's where you would do that. You can also link your Alexa device in the settings here, or set up charger sharing if you're going to limit who has access to the MaxiCharger. That's pretty much it. I'm all set up and ready to charge now. So I've been using the MaxiCharger Lite with the app for about 2 weeks now, and I find the app very easy to use. It provides nice information. It's very easy to navigate. Some of the apps on these chargers are very clunky, but Autel seems to have a nice app for this unit, which adds to why I like the unit so much, and I really do like this unit. So let's talk a little bit about the Autel MaxiCharger line of chargers. I mentioned earlier that Autel has a bunch of different offerings, and they do. Too much, almost, in my opinion. I like to have options, but sometimes if you offer too many options, it confuses people. And I have to tell you, over the course of the last year, I've had a few of my followers say, hey, Tom, I like the MaxiCharger based on your first review. I think it's the right unit for me, but can you help me try to figure out which one to buy? Because they have a lot of different units, and they do. I think too many. I think it confuses people. So this is the Lite, as I mentioned earlier. It's the 50 amp Lite. They also sell it in a 40 amp. They sell it with the integrated connector holster, and also without integrated connector holster, where this is just flat, and then you use this connector holster here to holster the connector, and you can mount it anywhere you want. So that in itself isn't too complicated. But then they also offer the MaxiCharger Elite, which is the same unit, except it has this glass panel on the front, and you would assume, well, that means, you know, there's probably some cool information there. There isn't. It's just for looks. The commercial version of this does have a touch screen here, and it's really sleek, but it costs over $1,000, and it's really targeted for commercial use. I certainly wouldn't recommend buying that for your home use. It's a waste of money, in my opinion, to spend over $1,000 for one of these when you can get one for $599. It does the same thing, except without the touchscreen. So this, the Elite unit, you could also get in 40 amp and 50 amp with the integrated connector holster, with the remote connector holster, and in different colors. So there's, you know, I don't even know how many different configurations. I haven't added it up, but there's probably like 20 different variants of this that you could buy. And they're all really the same. The Lite used to have a few less features than the Elite. I think it didn't used to have the ability to power share, and I think solar charging, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But now Autel puts that in the Lite, so there's really no difference in features. So it's kind of weird that they offer two products, and this costs more. It costs, I think, $50 more or something like that, just to get the screen. So it's kind of, it's you know, not something I would recommend. And it's not a screen, it's just a piece of plexiglass. So in any event, I think Autel could streamline their product line, make it a little bit easier for people to figure out which unit they want, because as I said, I've had my followers reach out to me and say, hey, what's the difference with this? What's the difference with this? What, you know, should I get this one? Should I get this one? Offer a 50 amp that you hardwire, offer a 40 amp, throw in a couple colors, And you know, if you want to do the remote connector holster, that's fine. Or maybe just have them all have the connector holster integrated. And if somebody wants a remote connector holster to put it somewhere else on the wall, sell that. I don't know if you really need to have 2 units, one with a flush front that comes with this. I would probably sell them all with this. And then if somebody wants a remote connector holster, you charge them whatever, $15, $20 and throw that in. Then they could have both. Speaking of which, I do like this connector holster. It is nice, pretty easy to holster, which I'm surprised because it doesn't have a tapered inlet. A lot of times when these don't have tapered inlets, they're hard to holster, but this one I have no problem with it at all. I think because it's not recessed at all, it's right in the front and it goes right in. The only thing I would say is this little green circle here should be illuminated. It should have an LED in it. So if this was mounted in a dark area, it would be easy to holster it. That's one of the changes that I would make on it. But other than that, Autel's done a great job with the MaxiCharger, the whole line. These units are very good units. They have tons of features, probably as much features as any electric vehicle charger on the market today. You know, that rivals the NLX. The NLX Juicebox had more smart charging features, I think, than pretty much any of the other chargers, but this, I think, matches it. I mean, it can power share with up to 8 units. It can share one circuit and spread that power across 8 units. It has a solar charging feature to allow you to charge your car from excess solar generation. So if your house has a solar array, the primary solar feed is going to go to the appliances or whatever is running your house. And whatever is excess of that can go into your car. So you can charge your car 100% on your solar production, which is a pretty cool feature. It also has control access. You can get RFID cards or through the app and control who uses this, which is really good if you, like, say, live in an apartment complex or the charger is going to be mounted outside somewhere and you want multiple people to use it, but you don't want to let the general public use it. You can control the access with this, which is an excellent feature to have, particularly for multi-family dwellings. It has Amazon Alexa compatible. You can hook this up to your smart home. It's OCPP compliant, so it can participate in demand response programs from utilities. More and more utilities are now offering these demand response programs, and they're also hooking up with some units to try to figure out electric vehicle charging habits of people. They're trying to figure out when their customers charge and everything, and that helps them decide, you know, how much power they need to add and whatever. So there's a bunch of these programs going around the country, and your charger needs to be OCPP compliant in order to participate. This is. So I mean, it's got tons of features besides the app, which has really good charging data and past history. So I'm a big fan of the Autel MaxiCharger, the whole line of them. I think they could consolidate it, and it probably might even cut down on the cost. They might be able to sell it for less because the more different variants you offer, it always raises the cost to manufacture. So perhaps Autel might consider that. The only real negative, and we'll talk about this at the end, I still don't like this cable. Got to do a better job on the cable. Get another cable, and this would get a tremendous score from me. And speaking of scores, let's go to the ChargerRater and we'll see how this unit fared with my point-based ChargerRater system before I offer my own personal score. Okay, in the cost and value category, it's going to get 1 point. For value, it's going to get 1 point because I think it's a good value. So it's going to finish up the cost and value category with 17 points. For power and weatherproof rating, it's going to get 2 points because it is a 50 amp charger. It is going to get 2 points because it has 2 dip switches, an internal dip switch and one through the app, which I really like that this unit has. Very few units have that. This is one of them, and I really like when it has that feature. Okay, for the extreme heat test, it passed that, so it gets a point. Weatherproof rating, it's a NEMA 4 rated unit, so it gets 2 points. It is Energy Star certified, and it passed the automatic restart test. So it's going to finish up the power and weatherproof rating category with an outstanding score of 24 points. For construction and durability, it's going to get 1 point for connector and holster. I like the fact that it gives you different choices for the holster, and I do like this connector. Luckily, I didn't have any problems with it this time. When I did the connector drop test, it didn't break, so it's going to get a point there. For cable length, it gets 2 points because it's a 25-foot cable. Cable pliability, I'm going to nail it here again, and it's going to lose 1 point. The first MaxiCharger I reviewed lost 2 points because it was a terrible, it broke my scoring scale. I had to give it even one less point than I usually do here. But this one here, I'm going to give it -1 point because I don't think it's a good cold weather cable. And I'm surprised, even though Autel recognized that they had to improve the cable, they went out and they improved the cable, but marginally, and it's still not a good cold weather cable. For robust construction, it's going to get no points because it's average. It's actually, you know, I thought about giving it the extra point here. It's right in the middle of average and excellent. It's a very good robust construction here, but I'm not going to give it an excellent, which would give it an extra point. For removability, it doesn't get any points. It doesn't have some type of security lock for easy access. Ease of installation, no points. So it's going to finish construction and durability with 17 points. For smart and non-smart, yes, it's a smart charger, gets 2 points. It is PowerShare capable, it gets 1 point. It is Alexa capable or compatible, 1 point. It has extensive charging data, it's going to get another point. It is OCPP compliant, it's going to get a point there. Going to finish the smart, non-smart category with 21 points. For safety certified and warranty, it's safety certified, so it doesn't get any points or doesn't lose any points there. It has a 3-year warranty. You get 1 point for every year warranty, so it gets 3 points there. Going to finish safety certified and warranty with 18 points. It's going to give the Autel MaxiCharger Lite 50 amp charger a grand total of 97 points on the ChargerRater, and it is tied with the top scores that the ChargerRater has given to any of my chargers. So this has fared fantastically in the ChargerRater. And when we take that 97 score and convert it to a 5-star rating, the Autel MaxiCharger gets 4.8 stars out of 5. Fantastic score. Now, if you watch my channel here, you know I then offer my own personal score and average the two. I'm going to give the Autel MaxiCharger a very high score for my own personal rating, 4.45 stars out of 5. And together with the ChargerRater and my personal score, the final score for the Autel MaxiCharger Lite 50 amp charger is 4.65 stars out of 5. One of the highest scores that we've given here on State of Charge. It's a really good unit at a decent price, packed with features, and it's definitely going to be in my recommended list moving forward, and it might even make my top chargers of 2024. That video is going to be coming out in about 2 months, and look for the Autel. I think you might see it in there this year. Okay, all that's left is to talk about my hits and misses, which we're going to go into right now. Okay, first up, we'll do the hits. This unit is packed with smart charging features. I just went over them. It's got just about every feature that you'd want in a charger, so that's definitely a hit there. It's got solid construction. I like the fact that it has 11 screws that goes around the perimeter. It's NEMA 4 rated. Nice, thick, strong plastic. This thing's definitely well made. It has RFID and app access control. Very few units have this, where you can limit who gets to use the charger, and if it's located in a public space, that's important. Okay, next up we'll go for the misses. First and foremost, cable performance. As you saw in the video here, this improved cable is improved, but only slightly. Autel needs to get another cable if they want to get a higher score here at State of Charge. Okay, it has too many configurations. I just went over this. I just think it confuses people. I don't think they need as many choices as there are. A lot of people that are getting a charger, it's their first EV, and you go to this site and there's 15 different configurations. It gets a little confusing. I don't think they need that many. Okay, next up, and I'm nitpicking here a little because quite honestly, there's not a lot of misses. This is a good unit. The charge dock is not illuminated. I'd really like if that little green ring around the dock where you put the connector was illuminated. So if this was in some sort of a dark area, maybe outside somewhere, you'd get a little bit of a sense of where that hole is so that you can easily holster the connector. Well, that's it for our Autel MaxiCharger Lite full review here today. I hope this review helped you decide if you want to buy one of these units or not. If you do want to buy one, you can click the link in the description of this video and order it directly from Amazon. There is currently a special. I don't know how long that's going to last. It might not even last till the time I publish this video, but they did have a holiday special going on. You could save yourself a few dollars if you decide you want to get one. Order it soon and take advantage of that savings. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news, electric vehicle charging equipment reviews, all the good stuff we do here on State of Charge. And as always, thanks for watching.